From advertising to software as a service to data.
Across all of our programs and clients, we've seen a 55 to 65% open rate.
Getting brands authentically integrated into content performs better than TV advertising.
Typical lifespan of an article is about 24 to 36 hours.
If we're reaching out to the right person with the right message and a clear call to action, then it's just a matter of timing.
Welcome to the MarTech Podcast, and I Hear Everything production. In this podcast, you'll hear the stories of world-class marketers that use technology to drive business results and achieve career success. We'll unearth the real-world experiences of some of the brightest minds in the marketing and technology space so you can learn the tools, tips, and tricks they've learned along the way. Now here's the host of the MarTech Podcast, Benjamin Shapiro.
Welcome to the MarTech Podcast. I'm your host, Benjamin Shapiro, and today we're going to discuss how SaaS companies are leveraging the power of artificial intelligence to not just grow exponentially, but strategically. Joining us is Rob Freedman, who is the head of growth at Zuper, which provides a one-stop shop for effortlessly managing your field sales and service in the most hassle-free manner from anywhere. Zuper enables you to manage customers, schedules, employees, and field workforce, and everything else your business needs in a secure manner. And in addition to providing us with our guest today, Zuper is a sponsor of the MarTech Podcast. So far this week, Rob and I have talked about how growth marketers leverage AI, how sustainable SaaS growth looks, and today we're going to wrap up our conversation talking about integrating marketing into field ops. All right, here's the last part of my conversation with Rob Freedman, the head of growth at Zuper. Rob, welcome back to the MarTech Podcast.
Thanks, Ben. How are you doing?
I'm good. Excited to continue our conversation. We've covered a lot of ground so far this week. We covered marketers using AI. We talked about SaaS metrics and making sure that we're building sustainable growth. But one thing that we haven't really got into is what you do for a living. Obviously, you run a great growth team. You're an experienced marketer. I love hearing your perspective, but I do want to hear about an industry and a channel in marketing that most marketers probably don't think about, which is their field ops. Talk to me a little bit about what field ops is and why is it relevant for marketing?
So what Zuper is we're a field service management platform. What field ops are, field service technicians, these are like your residential services or commercial services, companies such as HVAC, plumbing, pool maintenance, landscaping. It really runs a huge gamut. Roofers, installers, appliance delivery.
People going places and doing things in person.
In the field, you got it. And that's your front line. These are the people who are facing your customer, who are often, as we find when we're speaking with customers, an untapped source of revenue growth and marketing for their companies.
You mentioned the front lines, and I think that there are specific types of businesses where field ops is a no-brainer. And you mentioned where the service has to be conducted at home. I mentioned earlier the last startup that I worked for was a company that did dry cleaning and laundry. Now, this is a technology-enabled company. We're the Uber for dry cleaning and laundry. We were. And one of the things that the company was forced with developing was technology that enabled the field ops, the people that were dropping off and picking up the clothes, we called them valets, to tell us what was picked up and what was dropped off, right? So it's not just, all right, AT&T is coming to fix the lines in front of my house. It's all sorts of different businesses. Are there ways that non-traditional home-based services can leverage field operations in their marketing efforts?
Absolutely. Through automating their scheduling and dispatching and that communication flow with their customer. Right now, a small business can give that Uber-like experience to their customer right there through a tool like Zuper, where they get the text notifications, they can track the technician on a map and know how quickly they're going to be at their home or at their workplace. They can get real-time updates. They're not home, but they're at work, and they can get real-time updates on how the progress of the project's going at their home or on their property, and get photos and audio clips. And it also limits the intrusion into their lives because it's not a phone call with a tech or somebody that's interrupting. They can engage with these updates when it's convenient for them and get that information like through a customer portal type setup when they need it, not on the technician's time.
So give me some examples of the triggers that you're finding from field ops representatives. Somebody is on the way to your home. Somebody's got to your home. They're conducting services. Great. That seems like all important stuff for the customer to understand about the process. It makes them feel satisfied and in touch with what's happening. But what actually helps drive revenue?
Well, NPS surveys, being able to, when the work is done, knowing when to time those customer satisfaction surveys, asking for feedback, opportunities to upsell, opportunities to expand. Maybe someone's coming in to their system for the first time for an HVAC problem, but they can also automate a trigger to say, hey, would you like to sign up for our annual or semi-annual HVAC tune-up program? And these reminders and things can pop up and be sent to the customer for special offers. And these are the sorts of things that can then help move the needle revenue wise.
So what I'm hearing from you is there's not only giving the customers updates about what their services are, what's been conducted. It seems like there might be a little bit of an opportunity here. Hey, we came to your house and we changed your battery. So we know in 6 months, a year, 2 years, you might need a new battery. Or we saw that your oil needs to be changed. We can come to your house and change your car's oil. Obviously, I'm making up what these services actually are. But getting customer feedback seems like an incredibly important tool. And there's also not only getting the customer feedback, but then making it actionable. What are some of the ways where when you're taking your NPS score based on the field reps that you're actually taking that information and turning it into a positive or revenue generating customer experience?
Well, for some of the customers, if there was a bad experience, you can head that off before it becomes a bad review and empower the field technician with ways to handle and address those issues right there in person. Or empower the back office with the information like, hey, this needs to be dealt with now before it becomes a Yelp review that you need to deal with in a much more difficult manner.
What went through my head is, hey, plumber, you just got a 1 NPS score before the service is done being complete. Can you please pull up your pants?
And then I think there's just encouraging them to be repeat business. And one of my colleagues, Michael Israel, often talks about or writes on a concept of completed service work. And what basically, boiling down many, many articles on that to one sentence, is predicting and anticipating what your customer's next need is before they even know what it is and addressing it. And it's a way to surprise and delight your customer, a way to take the service to a whole nother level. And you need tools such as platforms to help let the technician know, hey, in this scenario, these are the things to look for that could be done that may go beyond what you're actually there to address that day. And when you bring those things to the customer's attention, not only when you show them how addressing something could save them time, heartache, aggravation down the line, but then they're even more appreciative if you're able to give them these solutions at an attractive rate or discount or some way, because you already have the technician there. You don't need to redeploy somebody. They're already in the home or in the place of business. Let's just knock these items out while they're there, and it makes everyone happy. It becomes a true win-win scenario.
Last question I have for you is, you're using tools like Zuper. It seems like there's an incredible wealth of information that you get from a service technician or somebody that is actually servicing the customer. Now, I'm assuming that there's also a problem with getting those people to, and I'm using air quotes that no one can see, fill out their TPS reports. And by that, I mean actually go into it's like CRM cleanup, right? Nobody wants to do it, but it's really valuable and helps drive business. What are some of the ways that you're able to either give incentives or drive the people that are doing the field work to give the right information so you can then understand how to follow up using the rest of your technology stack?
So first of all, the technology can force it. For them to complete a job, for them to close out the job, we can put in workflows and checklists that have to be completed. They have to go through, and perhaps even take photos of certain things, before and after photos, check those off, check off different things. There's a cleaning checklist or landscaping checklist for like a specific property. Say, hey, we need to make sure that, these shrubs are trimmed, these are pruned back, this tree stays, this tree goes out, making sure these things are done in a very specific manner and to the specifications of the customer. The technology can help force that and give plenty of reminders to the technician that, hey, this still needs to be done and it should be done in this order.
Your customer data is incredibly important, and it's also hard to come by. And often as marketers, mostly technology-driven marketers, we think about understanding where our advertising is reaching our customers, understanding what's happening with the digital interactions. And often we're not thinking about what's happening in the real world. And mostly if you have some sort of an at-home service or where your customers are interfacing with, I don't know, let's say another human being, it's incredibly important to understand how that relationship has gone, to understand their satisfaction in real time. And that's why companies like Zuper and your field service ops might be one of the most important pieces of data collection that you can get. What the actual customer interaction is in real time, and are they happy? Rob, I appreciate you coming on the podcast, telling us a little bit about a new channel of marketing we don't often think about, how it works, and maybe a way that we can better understand our customers on a one-by-one basis. Thanks for coming on and being my guest.
Thanks for having me, Ben.
All right, and that wraps up this episode of the Martech Podcast. Thanks to Rob Freedman, the head of growth at Zuper, for joining us. If you'd like to get in touch with Rob, you can find a link to his LinkedIn profile in our show notes. You can contact him on Twitter. His handle is Rob Freedman. That's ROBFREEDMAN. Or you can visit his company's website, which is zuper.co, ZUPER.co. Just one more link in our show notes I'd like to tell you about. If you didn't have a chance to take notes while you were listening to this podcast, head over to martechpod.com, where we have summaries of our episodes and contact information for our guests. You could subscribe to our weekly newsletter, and you can send us your topic suggestions or your marketing questions, which we'll answer live on our show. Of course, you can always reach out on social media. Our handle is martechpod, MARTECHPOD, on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Or you can contact me directly. My handle is Ben J. Shap, BENJSHAP. And if you haven't subscribed yet and you want a daily stream of marketing and technology knowledge in your podcast feed, we're going to publish an episode every day this year. So hit the subscribe button in your podcast app, and we'll be back in your feed tomorrow morning. All right, that's it for today. But until next time, my advice is to just focus on keeping your customers happy.